Hello everybody, it's been a while since I've done a video online, but I know I have some new participants in my class and there's been a request to see the class ahead of time. So I didn't get to do the class before, we did it yesterday, so I'm going to do it now so you just have a reference to come back to. So yesterday we started in child's pose, so coming down to your mat. And you can choose taking the knees as wide as your mat. Or maybe you bring them close together. Or maybe you come onto your back and bring your knees into your chest. And then I like to have a block underneath my glutes. So I sit one in between my heels and my glutes. And then I bring a block underneath my forehead. And then just letting yourself rest. For these first few opening moments, just allowing yourself to settle in, to arrive on your mat. And depending on what time of the day that you're doing this practice, you just start to let the events from either the morning or the afternoon just start to trickle away. So that for the next 16 minutes, you can solely focus on you and what your body needs in this moment. Beginning to narrow that attention, drawing it inward as you focus on your breath. Feeling each breath in and each breath out. Just 30 seconds more here to breathe. Deepen your next couple of breaths. And then on your next inhale, pressing yourself up to a tabletop position. So stacking those hands underneath your shoulders and knees underneath your hips. Drawing the navel in, gazing at the floor to keep your neck nice and long. And then our first yin posture this morning will be thread the needle. So on an inhale, you'll take your right arm out to the right. Maybe you draw it all the way up as your gaze follows. And then you'll sweep it underneath your body, drawing yourself all the way over to that left side until the right side of the head can come down to the mat. And then that left arm, it can reach out long, or maybe you wrap it around your lower back as you get into that right shoulder. And if this is too deep for you, you can't come all the way down to the mat, you can also place a block underneath your head so you don't come down as far. And you can also stretch that arm out long. You choose, and maybe you need 1 or 2 blocks, and that's okay as well. And then you just settle in. Maybe the eyes close. Take one more breath in here. And then slowly walk that left hand back underneath your shoulder. And you're going to press into it to come all the way back up as you breathe in, drawing that right hand either out to the right or maybe up to the sky. And then setting it down as you exhale. And then before we move to that other side, we'll move through a couple of cat and cows here. So in an inhale, you'll drop your belly and then lift your gaze. And then rounding the spine to the sky as you draw your chin towards your chest for cat. Again, belly drops, we find cow. And then cat as you exhale. One more time through. Belly drops, gaze lifts as you breathe in. It's cow pose. And then cat as you exhale. When coming back to that neutral spine, we'll find thread the needle on the other side now. So as you breathe in, that left arm is going to reach out to the left. Maybe you draw it up towards the sky. And then as you exhale, we're sweeping it underneath you all the way over to the other side. Bringing that left side ahead, again, either down to a block or to the floor. And then that right arm can reach out long. Or maybe take it up and wrap it around your lower back. Finding that left hip crease or in that general direction. And then you find your breath. Maybe the eyes close. And each time that mind starts to wander away, ever so gently, can you draw it back to your breath? Feeling that inhale move in through the nose and out as you exhale. And take one more breath in here. If you're in that wrap, start to draw that arm back underneath your right shoulder as you inhale. Then press into it, coming all the way up. And then reaching that left arm maybe all the way up to the sky as you breathe in again. And then setting it down as you exhale. And then once again, finding a few cat and cows here as you move with your breath. You drop your belly, you lift your gaze. Nice and slow, like we're not rushing anything. Couple more times here. Following that breath in and out. And then wherever you are, coming back to that neutral spine. And we'll find puppy pose. So with this one, you just want to keep your knees underneath your hips and begin to walk your hands out. Now I'm super hypermobile here, so I put a block underneath my chest. Otherwise, I go too deep and I can't stay. So you can choose. Drawing your forehead down to the floor or a block as well. And then arms reaching out long. Or to soften it, you can bring your arms back, cactusing them. So again, it's what works for you in this moment. And sometimes you may come to your mat and you'll feel more open and strong. And other times you'll come to your mat and you feel tight and tired. And it's all part of the journey. Just a couple more breaths here before we start to switch gears into our vinyasa. Last breath in. Stay for that exhale. And then start to walk your hands back towards your body, pressing yourself back up to a tabletop position. And then just moving any props that you may have out of the way. Finding that tabletop pose once again. And we'll come into a version of extended table. The first thing, we're going to raise that right arm out in front as you breathe in. Thumb turns up towards the sky like you're shaking someone's hand. Then you'll set it down as you exhale. Again, left arm will reach out in front as you breathe in. And then set it down as you breathe out. Now let's try the legs. Inhale, we'll reach that leg, right leg out long. And you want to make sure that that right hip is not rolling up. So see if you can draw it down towards your mat and you point your toes down towards the mat. Now you're welcome to stay here like this, or maybe you reach that left arm out in front. And you breathe here, balancing as you press the floor away with that right hand, left shin and top of foot. It's another breath in, then set it down as you exhale. Other side, when you're ready, that left leg will lift. You'll point the toes down to the mat. And then maybe the right arm will join it. Neck as long as you gaze at the floor. You take one more breath in here, then set everything down as you exhale. Now you're just going to slide those knees back just a little bit in behind your hips. So we can come, another way you could do that too is to walk your hands out and draw yourself forward, whatever's easier. So long as those wrists stay stacked underneath your shoulders. And you're going to draw that pit of the belly in, so what we would call a modified version of a plank. Take one more breath here, and then slowly lower all the way to your belly. Untuck the toes, but leave your hands where they are down by the sides of your ribs. And then you're going to press into your hands just to lift your body enough to feel it. And then lower back down. Now we'll add the breath. Inhale, you press up. Lower as you breathe out. Inhale, rise. Exhale to the mat. One more time, breathe in. And then lower as you exhale. We'll find tabletop as you breathe in. And then downward facing dog as you breathe out. Now in that down dog, you want about 2 fist widths in between your feet. And you're gazing about halfway up your mat. So your neck stays nice and long, so your biceps are by your ears. And those hands, you want those index fingers pointing towards the top of your mat. Your hands are a little bit wider than your shoulders, and it's really important to help those wrists out by pressing all of your knuckles into the mat and your index finger and thumb. And that way then we access the stronger bone in our arm. Take one more breath in here. And then we're going to walk our feet towards our hands. We'll come up halfway as we breathe in. Draw the pit of the belly in. And then fold as we exhale. Reach down or bring a bend in those knees, and then you're going to have a slow roll all the way to standing. Nice and slow. Coming all the way up. And then when you arrive, we'll circle those hands overhead as you breathe in. And then hands to heart center as you exhale. Just take a moment here to connect with your breath. To feel the ground underneath your feet. Okay, now let's circle those hands once again. Right hand is going to grab a hold of that left wrist. On an inhale, you'll lengthen. And then as you exhale, we're going to lean over to the right. So with this, you want to press down with that left foot. Draw that pit of the belly up, and you're lengthening first before you lean to the right. And then your gaze, it can be up towards the sky, or maybe it feels better for that neck to look down at your feet. You choose. Come all the way back up as you breathe in, and then we're going to switch sides. So now that left hand grabs a hold of the right, and we'll lean over this way. So you're kind of pulling on that arm, that right arm, so you get into that right side of that body. Take one more breath here. Stay for that exhale. Come all the way up, reach those hands to the sky. And now we're going to cactus those arms, and maybe there's a gentle lean back. Inhale, reach the arms back up. And then drawing the pit of the belly in, we'll fold forward as we exhale. Okay, halfway lift, you breathe in. So hands press into the shins or thighs, and then we'll plant our hands, and you can step back to plank pose, or you could take tabletop. So you choose. If you're in table, take one more breath here, and then you're going to slowly lower all the way to your belly. And then we'll find cobra pose as we breathe in. And then lower as we breathe out. 2 more. Inhale, you rise to the mat. Exhale. Inhale, press up. Lower, empty out. Then you're going to find tabletop or plank as you breathe in, and then downward facing dog as you breathe out. Keeping in mind in that down dog that your feet or your heels never have to touch the mat, and you can have a nice bend in those knees. The object here is to have a nice, flat, straight upper body. So if you're rounded, then bend the knees a little bit more. Take 1 more breath in here, and then walk, step, or jump to the top of your mat. Come up halfway, we breathe in. Fold, we breathe out. Reach to the sky, tall mountain, inhale. Right hand grabs left, we exhale, lean to the right. Come up, inhale. Then over to the left, exhale. Rise, you breathe in. Goal post those arms, we breathe out. Inhale to the sky, breathe in. Then fold forward, empty out. Halfway lift, we breathe in. Plant our hands, step back to plank or table. Take a breath here, and then lower slowly. It's cobra on your inhale. And then downward facing dog as you exhale. Okay, moving on. Here we go. That right leg will lift. And I just want you to draw it in line with your torso. So try not to crank it up. Just draw it in line with your upper body. Toes point down towards the mat. Take 1 more breath in. Then draw that knee towards your nose. And this can also be done like we did earlier, extending the leg out, and then draw the knee to the nose. Reach the leg back, and then now we're going to step it through. So it's either high lunge or low lunge. So I'll show you the low lunge. You reach your hands to the sky as you breathe in. Maybe that gaze lifts. And then as we exhale, we're going to take those arms wide. Goalpost those arms. And then inhale, we're going to reach them back up. Now, if you're on the floor, maybe a little bit easier for now for you to come back up. So coming up to that high lunge, we're going to pivot to the left and find star pose. Okay, so now both feet are parallel to the back and top edge of your mat. Take another breath in here, and then we'll find warrior 2 to the back of our mat. So with warrior 2, we have a heel to arch alignment. And this can also be done on the floor. So if this stance is too much, then maybe you drop down. So this would be our warrior 2 in a low version. Okay, and then the harder version, we come back up. So warrior 2, that front foot is in line with the arch of my back foot. I'm gazing out over the middle finger, relaxing into the shoulders. Take another breath in. On the exhale, flip that front palm and then reverse your warrior as you inhale. So in your reverse, if you're on the floor, you're doing the same thing. Then front arm reaches up and back. That front knee is still bent as the top arm is reaching towards the back of the room. Take another breath in. And then we'll cartwheel our hands to the mat. So now you're framing that left foot. Okay? You're up on the ball of the back foot. Now right hand will root into the mat. Left arm is going to reach up towards the sky. And so if you've noticed that left hip is kicking out, can you draw it back towards the middle? So as if you're squeezing a block between those two thighs. Take one more breath here, then set the hand down as you exhale. All right, now you're going to walk your hands forward just a little bit. Maybe shimmy that left foot back just a bit. And then when you're ready, we'll take flight. You're welcome to stay here just like this, or maybe you start to lift that right foot up and off the mat. So you're grounding down, and then your choice to stay here. Maybe you take one hand off. Maybe you take both. And you balance in airplane pose. You chose. Whatever works best for your body. One more breath in. One more breath out. Then set the left foot down beside the right. Come up halfway as you breathe in. And then fold as you breathe out. Start to squat low, and we'll find chair pose. So chair pose, I'm just going to turn this way so you guys can see a bit better. Maybe it's better to see it. Oh, we'll just, so I have terrible knees, so you choose what works best for you. So your feet separated is a little bit easier to balance. Together, it's a little bit more of a challenge. And then you're sitting as deep as your knees will allow, in my case. And then you're drawing your navel in and up. You're pressing those hips back and shins towards the back of the room. And arms are a little bit wider than our shoulders as we turn those pinkies in to face one another. Okay, so that's your chair pose. Take another breath in here in your chair, and then come to standing as you exhale. So rooting down with that right foot, rooting down with your right foot again. You're going to lift that left knee in towards your chest. So again, we're finding a bit of balance, but you could set your toes down like this. Again, you're working with your body and what it needs. So maybe it's like this today, or maybe you draw the knee in towards your chest, and then maybe you reach your arms above your head. You take another breath in, then you're going to float or drag the foot back to the back of your mat. So we find that high lunge once again. Reach those hands a little bit higher, and then exhale, we're spinning to the left again. Finding that star pose once again, arms reach out, belly button draws in. Take a breath here. Then we find warrior two to the front again. Settling in here. We have that heel to arch alignment, and we're careful that we're not reaching too far like this. You kind of want to draw yourself back so that your head is over your heart over your hips. All right, flip that front palm, reverse your warrior, and then cart with your hands to the mat. Step back to plank, or you can take table, and then lower yourself all the way down. Find cobra pose as you breathe in, and then downward facing dog as you breathe out. Okay, we just have that other side to go. So when you're ready, that left leg will lift up, and then left knee to belly as you exhale. Again, you can drop to your knees if you'd like, and then press it back as you breathe in. We'll step it through as we exhale, finding that high lunge. Whoops, I'm on the wrong foot here. Left knee to belly, sorry, not right. Reaching those hands to the sky when you're ready. Take a breath here in your high lunge, and the biggest thing with high lunge too, so the wider your feet are this way apart, the easier it is for you to balance. So reach those hands high, then take them wide as you breathe out. Inhale, reach them back up. Now this time we go to the right as we spin. Find that star pose. Take a big breath here. And then it's warrior two as you exhale to the back of your mat. Breathing, finding some stillness. You have that heel to arch alignment. You're gazing at it over that middle right finger. You're drawing your head over your heart over your hips. Front knee is bent to your own degree. You're pressing into that outer edge of that back left foot. Take a breath in, a breath out. One more inhale. Exhale, flip the palm. Reverse your warrior. Okay? It's a breath here. And exhale to stay. One more inhale, then now we're going to cartwheel our hands to the mat. So now we're framing that right foot, and you're on the ball of that back left foot. Left hand stays rooted, right hand reaches to the sky this time. And again, you squeeze those thighs towards one another so that right hip doesn't kick out to the right so much. One more breath in, one more breath out. Last inhale here. Set the hand down as you exhale. Now you're going to step that back foot in just a little bit as you walk your hands out, and then you choose. Maybe this side, you can't lift the leg, and that's okay. Maybe you just leave it touching slightly on the back of your mat, or maybe you lift it up all the way. Maybe you take one hand off, maybe you take both, and you balance here. Keep breathing for 3, for 2, and then for 1, and then you fold forward. Left foot comes beside right. Take a big breath here. Then halfway lift. Draw the pit of the belly in. And then fold, exhale. Then we find chair pose. Once again, pit of the belly draws in. And then we come to standing. Then we're going to root down with that left leg. My right's and my left's. Okay. Left leg roots down, right draws in. We reach the hands overhead. We're almost done. Take a big breath here. Then either drag the foot or step it to the back of your mat. Find that high lunge, reach the hands high. Then we're spinning to the right again. Find that star pose. One breath in, then it's warrior 2 to the front of our mat. We're gazing out over that middle finger. Then we flip our front palm, reverse the warrior, reach it back, then cartwheel your hands to the mat. Coming into plank. Now you can choose to be on all fours as well into tabletop or modified version. So we're pausing here. Now we're going to come down to our forearms. And this may be enough for you here in a forearm plank. Or can you start to walk those forearms as you bend your knees, drawing your elbows all the way back? And then can you walk them back out to the front of your mat? Let's do that 2 more times. Keep breathing as you draw those forearms all the way back. So you're almost in like a hovering table, and then walk your forearms all the way back out. Last time, inhale and exhale. Keep breathing. And then all the way back out. Coming into your plank or modified. Take a big breath in, and then lower yourself all the way down to your belly. Stacking your hands on top of one another. Slowing that breath down. If you have one ear on the floor, maybe switch ears now. And then from here, when you're ready, I'll get you to roll over onto your back. So you choose how you'd like to get there, whether you press yourself up and then make your way there, or you just roll over onto your back. And from here, we'll set up for reclined pigeon. So you're going to walk your feet onto your mat if they're not already there. And then that right foot will come across that left thigh. And you're going to flex the foot on that. Flex the toes, drawing them towards your shin on that right leg. And this may be enough for you here. Just pressing your right hand into the right thigh. Or maybe you grab a hold on either side of that left thigh. You can also use a strap here. If you can't quite reach, you can bring a strap around. You could use a scarf or a belt to help guide the leg in. And then maybe use that right elbow to press into the right thigh. And then maybe you close your eyes. You eliminate all the distractions around you. And you just feel your breath moving in and out. And although there is a bit of work in this posture, can you find places to soften? Maybe you're clenching your jaw. You relax the muscles within the face. Take one more breath in and slowly lower that left leg back down. Uncross the leg, and we'll just simply switch sides when you're ready. So again, you choose left foot crosses right thigh. Maybe this is enough for you just like this. Or maybe you grab a hold on either side of that right thigh with your hands and you draw it in towards your chest as you use that left elbow to press into the left thigh. Foot is flexed on that left leg, drawing the toes towards the shin. And again, finding some stillness here. The eyes close. Maybe you focus on where you feel the breath the most. Maybe it's in the entrance to the nose or the back of the throat. Maybe it's your chest or your belly as you fill it with air. And then it softens back down towards the spine as you breathe out. Last breath in here. Then lower the foot back down to the mat. Uncross the legs. Maybe just bring your knees in towards your chest and give yourself a little squeeze. Maybe a rock from side to side. And then before we head to Shavasana, we'll do a little spinal twist first. So you're going to plant your feet. In yin, we would call this twisted root. Arms are cactus. or out straight, depending how much room you have. Bring the feet together. Shift the hips over to the left just a little bit, and then you'll lower your knees down to the right. And then maybe your gaze turns in the opposite direction. You can also take that right hand and place it on top of your left thigh, just guiding those knees down towards the earth. If your knees are kind of floating in space, you could take a block and place them underneath. Or if they're not coming together, then you take another block and place it in between. On your next breath in, draw the knees back up to center. And then you'll just simply switch sides. So again, we shift the hips over to the right this time, and then lower the knees down to the left. And then maybe the gaze turns in the opposite direction. Maybe your left hand comes on top of that right thigh. And if you're lucky, you may hear some nice gurgling noises within your belly. You just had a meal, because twists often help with digestion. On your next inhale, draw the knees back up to center. And then we'll grab a hold of those knees and draw them back into your chest, giving yourself one final squeeze, a hug of gratitude for taking the time to show up today and to look after your body so it can continue to look after you. Maybe you bring your head up to meet your knees and you make yourself into a tight little ball as you take one big breath in here, and then open your mouth and let it go. As you release your arms and your legs down to the mat, taking up as much space as you need. Arriving in Shavasana. One of the most important poses of a class. Taking the time to just be. There's nothing left to do now, but just be here and breathe. Start to notice the sounds around you. Maybe even the sounds outside of this room. Knowing you can stay here as long as you need to. But if you're ready to move on with your day, take a big breath in and open your mouth and let that go. To bring some gentle movement back into the body, maybe wiggling the fingers and toes. Maybe giving yourself a full body stretch, reaching the hands overhead, pointing the toes in the opposite direction. And then walking your feet onto your mat and rolling to one side when you're ready. Cradling your head with your bottom arm. And then using that top arm to help support you here. As you just take a couple of breaths, slowly reawakening the body. And then eventually you'll use that top arm to press you up to a seated position, eyes still closed or gaze lowered, crossing the legs in front of you, drawing your hands together at prayer at heart center. And as we close our practice here together today, as a way to honor you and your practice, let's breathe one final time together. Take a big breath in, and then just sigh it away. Draw your thumbs to your forehead for clarity of thought, to your lips for thoughtfulness of speech, and to your heart for spreading love and kindness. And together we say, Namaste. Thank you, everybody.